Good morning, my magical friends. Let's get started again. We're back with Spellmonger, Book 1. We've been through a couple chapters. I did not do one and I kept going. Alright, so far, where I've gotten to, Menland just learned from the elf dudes that he's pretty much fucking doomed. But he just got his stone purified. They told him how he can, like, he's the only hope, that they wouldn't be helping, but that they will be fighting against them. Also, they're cousins to the goblins, the Gavani. They talk about that a little bit. And where else did I get? I met Garky, so he's like their town rival. Is the other spellmonger in the town in Minden's Hall. Hilarious meeting. Definitely excited to talk about him. Who else did we meet? We met Zagar. Zagar was awesome. Really cool. Another mage that's in town, but he is not technically a spellmonger. He's a hedge witch. That's what it was. A hedge witch. They usually live on the other side of the hedge. That's what they said in the book. Hence being called a hedge witch. We also got to meet Arya. Alright. Now, unlike other main characters from fantasy books or younger characters, our main character apparently be fucking. Like, so it was great. It was great listening to him woo this chick after saving her life. And then he also mentioned, like, they had fun together, as his reward for curing her stepbrother, I think it was. No, brother-in-law. That's what it was. So that was good. Also, we got a little bit about Min's family and how he became a mage. That was pretty interesting. Pretty sad stuff. But all right, I'm just probably gonna get into it, man, with like Minlin's past. I think I'm gonna go right into that. Now, Minlin, when he was young, he was just being that baker. He was just gonna be a baker's son, and his dad was super excited for it, I guess, which is interesting, but at the same time, I guess we're medieval type of times. So like he wanted to continue the Baker's dynasty is what he kept mentioning. But unbeknownst to his pops, but known to us, Menelin is a mage, and it turns out mages don't inherit. So that already immediately is going to break his dad's heart when he finds out that Menelin has magic. Now, it doesn't happen overnight. Well, I guess sort of it does. So he gets pretty upset with his sister. She tricks him and he ends up taking all the blame and is really frustrated because he's doing the punishment near the fire at his bakery and the fire just goes out of control, lights up, but his pop sees it and thinking that it's like a divine thing, he was running away scared, thinking he might have just burned his sister alive. But his dad sees it, calls him into the man shed out back. The man shed. I say man shed because he's hiding liquor from his wife in the shed. That was fantastic too. So he gets in there, he gives Midland his first drink, and he tells him like, you didn't really shat the bed with that one, man." He said he it tells him about his mom's side of the family. Apparently, they were nobles really far back, so they have, I guess, the magic bloodline, the people that did magic back in their past. So it's never come up before, but he thinks that it's probably what's gonna happen. So the first thing they got to do is go tell the city lord, all right, and inform him, and he tells the town mage. The town mage comes and does some tests on Millen, finds out that he has a ton of magic, and essentially sends him off to an Aryan academy after a couple months of like basic training and seeing how much magic Millen actually has. He's incredibly impressive. He has potential to be I guess they said it was a court wizard, and they get paid quite a bit. Very proud of his son. His dad still loved him no matter what. He wasn't angry at him. He was just going through going through the motions. Yeah. So like as he sends him off to school, his dad gives him a ton of money to make sure he can make it. The city lord gives him a whole bunch of money. All Everybody wished him his whole city and town like wished nothing but good for him. And which was pretty freaking awesome. It's a little different that he wasn't like just shipped off in the night or anything. Like he really just went off by himself, or not by himself, but like to the school to learn. He apparently comes back a few times, doesn't fit in anymore that much. But yeah, but it all worked out so far. Like he ends up going to war at the end of his academy days and to Faris, which he definitely does not like. So far, every time he mentions it, it is awful. All right, so where else did we get? All right, all right, that was Menelon's past and how he became a mage. But where we left off was he just finished battling that goblin. Now he has the stone that goblin had, which is called an Irianite stone. Super big, super big, twice the size of the one that he's seen before, and three times as dangerous. He was about to cry and wet himself and run back home when he seen it in this guy's pocket. So he takes it back to his little place. He's doing some wizarding about it. Kind of draws a blank. He knows it's super powerful, but he's scared to go in depth study to it because they knows that has like an evil draw or like an addiction about it. At least that's what he's seen from other wizards that have had Arianite in the past. Mentions Freeze again. All right, the Mad Mage of Freeze had a stone apparently, and he was kind of insane. Now, not knowing enough about the stones, he's gonna go and visit the elves. This is our first mention of they're like the elf-like creatures. They're called the Alkalalon. They're like small, really short people, and apparently they've been here super long. They barely ever interact with the humankinds anymore unless they want to. In their stories, they apparently only show up when times are dire or when they need it, when people need a hero essentially, or need to know magic. But he said he's gonna go visit them, so he heads on over. He heads out of his area. It's a nice little traveling apparently across the whole realm, not the whole realm, but like the township that he's in. So he visits his rival in town, Garkescu the Bold or the Great. Garkescu the Great. All right, Garkescu is freaking hilarious. So the whole meeting is very funny. All right, so Garky is what he calls him. Garkescu has been in this town forever. All right, so he has had no competition until Menelin moved in. Garkescu is a quack, apparently. He sells crappy magic at high prices while saying if things fail, oh, the gods must not have been allowing this situation or the scenario. But men, of course, our freaking wizard. He's making fun of him the whole time. I probably cried laughing to this way too much. But just teasing Garkescu was one of the best things I've seen for a while. So I really enjoyed that messing with him. He showed him the stone. Of course, he was like Gollum from Lord of the Rings. Like, I could use that. Like, you should leave that here for me to study. And of course, Men's like slapping his head. No, I'm not leaving it with you, you quack. All right, but out of professional courtesy, sorry, courteism, courtesy, Said he wanted to warn him about the goblin invasion and that the Lord is probably gonna call him to come and help prepare for the next set of invasions that are coming. All right, so he does mention that he's heading out to go to the alcohol lawn. Garky, of course, makes another ploy for the stone. Like, "Hey, you should leave that with me. I'm gonna need that." And he gives him a little lashing. Our boy Min wasn't gonna back down, and he told him straight up, "You a punk." Took his stone, went on about his trip. Now, Tyndall is very excited to meet them for the first time. Apparently, Min's seen them in Faris again. We keep mentioning this awful place, apparently. And so we're gonna get there, but he wants to stop by and see another friend. So we mentioned Zagor. Zagor is the hedge mage, and he's a giant of a dude. So they post up, they come up to Zagor's land, and as soon as they step on, he feels traps just activate all around him. All right, so he's kind of like stuck. Man, so he starts yelling through the window like, "Zagor, help! Get me out of this shit." Zagor's dog comes out and just holds him hostage for a couple minutes till the giant walks up and helps him. Right, but as you meet Zagor, apparently it's Menila's drinking buddy. He likes this dude, and he's a hedge mage, and he's super good friends with Menela. They drinking buddies at night. They be passing out together. All right, so that was fun listening to them rant and rave. But Zagor is incredibly good at magic too. Just wild magic is what they call it instead of imperial magic. Now, Zagor is something else. He's respected by Menelin so much, even though he doesn't practice Imperial magic. He's always been super strong. If Menelin has any trouble in town, he's always able to go to Zagor and get some help. Zagor's a really good friend. Really like that dude. He's pretty badass. Zagar also mentions that he's got a freaking stone. Pulls out a stone. He's had it forever. Says that, yeah, you definitely need to go meet the alcohol lawn. Actually sets them up, goes with them to meet the alcohol lawn. But onto that, like, so we meet the alcohol lawn. These are the most majestic forest dwelling, 3'5" elfin humanoid type dudes. But they're sort of, I don't know, they were like really overly majestic, or I don't want to say pompous at the moment, because I don't think they came off as pompous. They came off as like super wonderful or whimsical or just not understand or magical, I guess. Where they were just beyond men, and he was like super reverent of them the whole time he was talking to them, as if it was like just a boon for them to even talk to him. But they're pretty weird. I guess they do song magic, which is interesting. All right, but apparently they've forgotten more magic than any humans ever known, which is wild. Wild as hell. But I really enjoyed meeting them. We meet I can't remember what his name was. Well, it's not his name, but his title is like Aladrian or something like that. All right, so they meet him. He's like the leader of this area of elves, and he's after Middlin and them talk about the goblin invasion. They mention the stone a bit. He tells them like this is gonna be worse than you think, and he shows him this like mind magical map, able to see across the land, and they find all the there's spots lighting up on the map, and those are just like his stone. His stone is the same light on the map where they are, but they're all over near the goblin territory. Except for in the middle, there's a ginormous piece that's lighting up like fireworks. Midland is distraught. He's like, "We are doomed. We are gonna die. Why do they have that much Erionite? That is insane." I'm talking the size of a fingernail is what the Mad Mage of Faris apparently had, and he brung the duchies to their knees for a while. These guys have massive. The chunk that he's got is like his hand size. You know what I mean? Like actually like a fist size of Erionite. So like it's already an insane amount. Yeah, so he informs them about how big the Goblin army is, and actually informs us the history of it. So during the last Goblin War, apparently the Wilder Lords, or the lords of this area, where they were like they were called Coast Lords. That's what it is. The Coast Lords of this area during the last Goblin Wars were a lot more akin to pirates. So when they defeated people, they would fucking put their heads on pikes, make sure you know who was defeated and these people are dead. So they did that to the goblins, but the goblins were way more nomadic and tribal. So that was super disrespectful. Not only did they do that, but they betrayed the humans, betrayed like a peace treaty talk with them, and then red wedding them, apparently the goblins, on their like sacred land, desecrated the thing and then took it over. And that's actually where Midland lives right now. So that's the reason why the goblins are coming back here. They want their sacred land back, and that's what we found out from the elves. Also, he freaking purified Midland's Erionite stone for him, so now he can use it. He can access it and use it. Apparently, he passed his little test. It was freaking sick. All right, we're going. But I did miss one of our other characters. All right, I wanted to save her for last. All right. Last but not least is Arya. All right. So we meet Arya. She's running from, or she's screaming and fighting off goblins on her own for some reason. This is like super way after all of the battling has happened, right? So one dude's on the ground. She's fighting. She's hitting him with a chair and winning. Midland shows up with Tyndall, kills the goblins off, rescues her, and saves the her brother-in-law's life. Has to do some magic, use the stone to like knit his shoulder back into place, make sure the bones are there so it doesn't rot and they don't cut it off, they don't have to amputate. Which that was the first time he had to use the stone, and he about blew his load. He got so excited when he touched all that power. It just immediately was just like the best feeling in his world. He was no longer tired, anything. Super good, super good. I really enjoyed that part. Also, he rizzed her up with that a little bit later. Our boy Menelin smashing boots in the bushes. All right. So Arya was real fun. She's also like really snappy. I liked her a little bit. I don't know, she's a dairy farmer, I guess, or something like that. I don't know. She's just a townswoman though. So far that's all we got, but she did introduce us to the Goblin Stones. That's where he went and beat them cheeks at. So she showed him the Goblin Stones. He did a little magic in about it, to check it out and do an exam. And he was just overwhelmed by how beautiful and how amazing she was. I'm talking, he was smitten with her, talking about all I want to do is see this girl smile. And I couldn't hate it, which is like normally with some romance, a little bit too much romance, or we're getting into that level, I kind of fast forward and not really like it. But honestly, it was kind of sly and thrown in there. It was like, oh, he risen her up real quick, and I was like, my boy, I had to be on his side. I had to be on his side. I got too excited. I got way too excited for him. But yes, Arya, Menelin, and Tyndall. We met the alcohol lawn, the elves. We got Zagar. We met Garkescu. And at the end of it, we get to meet Siracusi again, and we definitely informed him how big the Goblin army is, and he was like, "We're gonna fight until my bones are white." And Mila's like, we gotta go. We gotta figure out how to get out of here. This is dangerous. Like it's really, really bad. So the goblin invasion is more of a zombie freaking horde right now. There's so many of them. It's gonna be like over the hills are going to turn black with furry beings. And remember, our goblins are black and covered in fur. All right, but that's where I got so far. I'm excited to keep going. I'm gonna keep updating. It was an amazing couple chapters. I think I got through all the way through 4. I even started a little bit of 5. So I will see you guys next time. It was a great freaking video. I hope it was. Shit.